welcome back. This is what the hell is this? There's going to be 3 of these this week. Because I got carried away with bad stuff. And 2 of these, what the hell is this, are real horror shows. And this is one of them. This is The Acolyte. Star Wars The Acolyte. This is a show that I've been hate watching for the last so many weeks. Oh, this is bad. It's really bad. It's one of those shows that you end up start watching just to see how much worse can it get week to week, and it always delivered. Now, there's been a lot of videos online about how bad this show is, and this is one of many, but it really deserves it. It's one of those things that's like, how did you not work this out before you even got beyond the script stage? This was a problem. This story doesn't work, and it has the sin, the ultimate sin. This is what affects Star Wars a lot, is lack of direction in the stories. Pretty much since Disney have bought Star Wars, they've had this problem. The only time they've not had the problem is with Andor and Rogue One, because Rogue One was leading up to the original Star Wars, and they had a story to tell. They had to reshoot it to get it right, but they had a good director and a good cast. And Andor was the prequel to Rogue One, and it delivered a lot of details as well. It had a sense of direction. We're heading to this point. And that's the only thing they've had direction. Obi-Wan show kind of had direction whenever there was Obi-Wan and Anakin, or Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. But a lot of the other time, if plots floating all over the place, didn't really deliver anything. So that was kind of half and half. But The Mandalorian season 3 just floated through a whole season where all these plots came together in a way that inspired no confidence in what they were doing, because it was like, what the hell's going on? It's like, it doesn't lead to anything that's narratively fascinating. It's just a bunch of stuff thrown at the screen. And Ahsoka was the same. Mandalorian, when it first started, seasons 1 and 2, had the direction of it's a show of week to week, going from place to place and different stories, and there's an overarching story going through it. That worked fine for Mandalorian until they decided to do a longer, bigger story with no real payoff. And you can feel the lack of direction from that 3rd season. Just this sense of, we don't know where we're going with this. There's just things are happening. And even if something happens it's quite good one week, you know, another 3 weeks after that of terrible stuff happening that's boring. Ahsoka just seemed to float around all these plot points. And there's a sense of the people in charge of the scripts don't have direction of, you need point A to point B to point C to have a direction and character and purposing to scene and a direction of where you're going to end. And the ending that's going to be significant. They don't have that. They've never had that since Disney took over. The sequel trilogy had that sense of lack of direction as well. There's a sense of people have to change in stories, so at the end of the stories you have a sense of there's been a purpose to the story. Things have happened, have changed the characters or changed the world around them in a way that's interesting. Because they're filling in gaps in these Star Wars episodes, you can't change anything too much, because the main Skywalker saga actually is the one where all the changes happen. So you have a lot of lifeless stories that can't really make significant changes. Or if they do, it's usually terrible changes. It's like, why did you do that? So the Acolyte just is this general sense of lack of direction. This is the worst I've ever seen a Star Wars project since Disney took over. And the bizarre thing is, the animated shows do not have this problem. And the animated stuff, when we started off with Lucas with Clone Wars, it was filling in a gap for Clone Wars. And you knew how it ended. And it never had the problem of lack of direction, because it was filling a lot of stuff that was interesting. And even the Rebels after that was leading up to the Rebellion and how the Rebellion was starting. It had a sense of direction, this is where we're going. And you could follow that and it was like, I understand where we're going. And Andor has the same thing, it's also dealing with the start of the Rebellion from a different angle. And even the Bad Batch had an angle of, we're dealing with the clones and what happened with the clones, and they had a sense of direction. But the live action stuff never has a sense of direction of, this is where we're heading, this is why it'll pay off in an interesting way. It's partially because the acting's pretty terrible in a lot of these shows. In some cases, it's most of the cast. In other cases, just some of the cast. But there was a sense of, a lot of them are talking have been written and are talking in a way that's not natural. It just feels like you're talking exposition and saying things that no one would say to each other, and there's a lack of like emotional intensity and dialogue scenes that means you don't care about what's happening, and you're explaining stuff that's obvious to people, and it's just a lot of bad writing and acting that's directed to be a certain way. Let's try to be noble. Let's try to say these characters are noble and these characters have great significance. And you can't actually act that. You have to have that come through in the performances in a dramatic situation, and it's backed up by action of what they do throughout the story. That's what creates that. I mean, one of the reasons Obi-Wan character has a weight is Alec Guinness, when he first came on, he did things and said things, but he did them in a natural way, and he suggested some real authority. Then when Ewan McGregor came in and did it for the other version, they built to that, and it was like, oh, both of them work in that character. But they've all tried with Obi-Wan Kenobi when they were a Jedi, and it's always like without the authority. And Acolyte's the worst example of this. This is just a bunch of actors who are just lifeless. And they're in scenes that make no sense. The characters change back and forward to, what's your decision, what's this, what's that. And they all just change and run around. And from episode to episode, you have things that are meant to happen that might have changed the direction of the story, but none of them are built up in a way that gives any weight to anything. Everyone just acts in a way that's fairly dull, and the characters are fairly stupid, and you have no sense of direction for them, and they act in stupid ways constantly, and they've lots of easy get outs to situations, and it's just horrible. But again, it's the lack of direction. You have a sense of, this is where we're going. A tight story actually has a sense of, even if the actual story initially seems to be wandering and floating, if it actually has a direction, if you can sense direction in a story, it's like, if you're meant to be confused in a story, it's because the person writing it wants you to be confused, and they'll pay it off later on. Or if they don't pay it off, they'll suggest things so you're interactive with the story and you can find your own meaning to the story. In this one, it's like, no, they don't understand what the storytelling is. There's no sense of internal direction for any of these characters. And that's what's the problem with Star Wars for a long time, is like, whoever's running the story department needs to be fired, because the sense of internal direction within these stories is non-existent. It's just not there. And the writing is just appalling. So the story of this one's hard to explain because it goes all over the place and nothing has any weight. Now, it's meant to be an investigation into a massacre that happened where the Jedi went to a place filled by witches, and one of the children that were born of that place wants to be a Jedi because she's a high midichlorian count. Another one doesn't because they're twins. All hell breaks loose. The whole area ends up dead, and it's never spoken of again. And it's basically 10, 15 years later on, as they've grown up. One was a Jedi who's left the order, another one is disappeared. They think the other one's dead. She comes back for revenge on the people who were involved in that. And then it's like finding out what actually happened on that day. Now that makes it sound way more coherent than this story actually is, as it's told. Way more coherent. Because you could listen to that and think, okay, that's like an hour-long episode. Maybe 2 hours, maybe a two-parter. Yeah. But no, this is 8 episodes. And what's annoying is, I mean, they've been putting videos mocking all the plot points in this, because there's so many. It's like, every episode has like 5 or 6 stupid things happening that it's like, makes your jaw drop. But the main thing is, a Jedi goes somewhere, there's a massacre, why don't the Jedi fully investigate it? Why don't the have independent people investigating it? Where they'd probably find out pretty quickly from these people what actually happened. Instead, there's lies based on this that you're thinking, okay, an actual proper investigation into a proper crime where lots of people died would involve the government, would involve the people who work them investigating it, would actually involve a lot of different things. And an actual massacre, if you're thinking real life, it's hard to hide. Even if people try to protect people, it's hard to get away with. And this one is like, oh, no one asked any questions. It's like, no, like, lots of people died here. It was a massacre from the Jedi. There would have been an investigation, there would have been explosions, there was something, they were sent to investigate something in the first place, and all hell broke loose and no one investigated it. It's like, the initial problem this story is, and its main setup is like, no, this would have been investigated, like, thoroughly. And there would have been like massive oversight into this. What happened? What did you people do here? It would never have gotten beyond that one massacre in the first place, because the way they've set it up is, it's so clumsy. And it's like the Jedi sent 4 of the people there to investigate this area, and then look, they found people and they all died, and they were all force sensitive and all died. It's like, that would be instantly be like, red flags, something weird happened here. And no, it's nothing. It's just like, no one asked any questions, and it's like, oh, no, you'd all be fired straight away, or you'd be going to jail. So that's the main thing, is like the whole base setup of what happened is like, no, that wouldn't happen. And then they try to build, so they try and hide what happened, and the plot's about trying to figure it out. But the problem is, and this happens throughout the story, is once you find out what happened, it's usually something you've already figured out from suggestions, and it doesn't make any sense from like human behavior. Like, constantly. there's a villain who's a Sith, even though the Sith are meant to have been gone for generations by the time of Phantom Menace. He's out there, he's causing trouble, and the Jedi don't know anything about him. Okay, then it turns out he was an apprentice of one of the main Jedi in the show, who they thought he was dead. Okay, they're not very good at keeping track of the bodies, I guess. Again, why wasn't an investigation? Why wasn't proof of the body there? What the hell happened? That seems kind of stupid. That seems like it's something you get away with a bit more than another one, but it's still like, well, that's not very good administration. Especially if you're a specialist team. The most specialist team in the galaxy. It'd be like, oh, we're losing bodies now. Oh, okay, actually, I'm just going by the little things here. There's so much other stuff here that makes no sense. But the whole show's like that. It's like, why did that wouldn't have happened? It's that kind of thing. There's whole crash sequences and chase scenes that happen because someone's stupid and does something dumb. Like the first scene is basically your villainess going down and killing one of the Jedi from that massacre, and then they find out who killed the Jedi. They find someone to say it was that person, who is actually one of the twins, and then they send her back on instead of the Jedi just taking her back because they went and found her, they send her back in a prison ship, and it crashes, and it's like, this was just a filler in an episode. That's all it was. This is so dumb. And the things we have to go and investigate these other people, and the person leading the investigation is the person who was at the source of the problem originally. Why would you have the person who is the chief suspect do the investigation? Again, these are the basic questions I've got that are not doing into the minutia of the stupidity of the plot. These are basic stuff that actually are going back to the sense of direction for the story. Is like, this would never happen. I have no sense of reality here, because you have the person investigating their own crime, or what came out of their own crime. They're investigating something that happened, tied to something that happened with them. They would not be involved. They'd be like, you stay away from this. We need someone independent who can look into this. You stay away. That's what would happen. So again, you've no sense of reality. Then they go and do stuff with a Jedi team, go and investigate these murders. Because they've turned it in murders because the investigators are so bad at their job, and the lead character who's keeping everything to himself, not saying anything, rather than just saying commentaries, oh, this is what actually happened. Oh, we can figure the rest out. Let's send the Jedi around, and that's how sorted it. That's all it would have taken to solve this whole mystery. Having just saying, I kind of lied, and these were terrible investigators. Done. Episode 1, series over. It's so bad. That's the thing. Murder mysteries, you have a sense of why did someone hide it? There was a great pain involved in hiding it. There's something they couldn't. They had to hide it. It was a crime, and there has to have a sense of why did no one ever find out about this stuff. This show didn't seem to have an idea of that as actually being something that is needed. It's just like, oh, just have people do stuff because we need them to do it for these action scenes to happen, and let's not think of any logic through at all. It's mind numbing, some of this stuff. So they go and find another guy who's haunted, and the big thing about this show is this guy who's haunted. He's no reason to be haunted by anything because he didn't do anything. People are haunted and have turned their lives away from everything for not doing anything particularly wrong, which is what you find out is like they didn't have to do anything that wrong. It was like it turns out they went to a place where everyone seemed to be really stupid and suicidal, and if they had an open investigation, it would have probably cleared them and everyone fine. But anyway, yeah, they go to this thing. They run into the Sith Lord straight away and don't realise it's him because he's acting as if he's stupid. They run into the villain to try to hunt down, and she gets away quite easily. There are a whole bunch of other chase scenes going to a planet to find this Wookiee Jedi, which causes a big episode-long action scene which is actually fairly dull. And, it's like, wow, a whole episode to watch people fight lightsabers badly. Wow. Now, they're trying to set up the villain Sith has been somehow terrifying because he kills all these Jedi, but it's like, the Jedi were useless, it wasn't an achievement. And at some point he gets the good twin, and then the bad twin ends up hiding amongst the Jedi, and they don't understand it, and they take forever to figure that out. And all these weird things with twins happen, and people switching sides, but there's no motivation for any character. No character's very well defined, so that it's like, oh, I see why they changed here or there. It's just like, we need them to change here. We need something to happen. And the acting's atrocious because no one has a clue who their character is, which is a big problem with Star Wars. People have given lines, but there's no sense of who a character actually is and what they want and what the direction of this character is and what they will and want to do. Because it's just like, whatever we can fit this in, we'll do. That's it. And it's like, and that's the thing is, I could go on and on about all the problems, but my brain's just melting just thinking about them. Just even the most basic thing is like, the first crime would cause a massive investigation, and then basically figure out these people who died were stupid. That's it. That's a big mystery. Yeah, the victims were idiots. They were astonishingly dumb. They should have a plaque above them saying, "We had it coming." It's so bad. It's like it's the world's worst murder mystery where you find out the people who died weren't worth avenging, the people who killed them were dumb as hell, and the people who were meant to be supervising them couldn't do their job properly. That's it. The characters are all stupid. We have the first person joining the Sith to get a yawn, because worst of all in this thing is the lead actress is terrible. She's playing two parts and they both perform the same lack of enthusiasm. And it's like, I don't know if it's the actress or it's the script. The script's terrible and she doesn't have much to do. But it's like she's blank through the whole thing. Like, I'm not sure if she understood she's in the stinker and was like, okay, I'll try and survive this shit. Who knows? But she's terrible. The only good performance is by Manny Jacinto as the Sith guy, because he's a good actor and he knows what he's doing. That's it. That's the only bright side. Even other actors who are good not get a look in here. They're given bad lines, and people say stuff that should be subtext in any other thing, and they state it out loud for like minutes at a time, so you can have a scene that should be one line. No, we're going to have a whole speech about it. That goes through the whole thing as well. Like speeches about stuff you can figure out in 2 seconds. That's half the dialogue in this thing. It's just painful to watch sometimes. It's just hilarious. And even the worst thing is, the flashback to explain what happened is basically half of the episode. They have an episode 3 shows you it from one point of view. Then episode 7 shows you it from another point of view. But half the scenes are the same scenes from the first other episode. And it's like, oh, you're doing what? If you do that, you have to really reframe it in a way that's fascinating, and they don't do it, and it's just lazy. It's like literally you have scenes after scenes of stuff, and it's so bad, and that's just a sign of how incompetent this show is. It's like everything is done half-assed. Even the effects don't look that great. They're just like, they're there. We spent money on them. We did what the director wanted, but there's nothing there. And even feeling the directors weren't that into this. Like they were, we'll try and do a professional job, but there's not much we can do with this garbage. It's just appalling. I mean, but it fails in the fundamentals, lack of direction, and lack of a plot that actually has any complexity or anything. They haven't worked at the mystery well enough to would give the rest of the interactions complexity. Like, the basic thing you need to have for anything this to work is work out that central thing first, so that everything else that flows from it can be complex and can be interesting. You don't get that here. You just get something that's really stupid. Okay, I'm going to stop now, because all I'm going to do is say it was stupid, because it's stupid. But it's awful. This is awful. Do not watch. Unless you want to hate watch like I did, because it's hilariously bad to hate watch. Alright, that's me for now. Bye.